Chapter 229. How far did the Qin family want to go? They left their treasures at home and even hugged a rock and said it was beautiful. The dean's impression of this family was getting worse and worse. He said coldly, "Have you ever thought that maybe Miss Pei doesn't care about the Qin family's assets at all? With Bei Yunji's ability, if she really wanted to take over the Qin family, she didn't have to hurt old Master Qin at all." This was someone Wang Lin wanted to get to know. But, before Mrs. Qin could finish speaking, the dean interrupted her. Old Master Qin has already agreed to this and signed a written agreement. Even if Dr. Fang arrives, I can't let him perform the surgery. After that, the dean left without even looking at him. This scene made Mrs. Qin's face turn red and livid. "Mom, don't be angry. You were too impulsive last time and made such a statement. Everyone will be biased towards her," Qin Youjiao said softly. Mrs. Qin lost control of her emotions and her eyes were frighteningly red. "Back then, I shouldn't have agreed to let them look for Bei Yunji." Hearing this, a dark glint flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes and she didn't say anything. Suddenly, "Student Qin?" Qin Youjiao and Mrs. Qin turned around and saw Fang Gisheng's dark expression. "Haven't you arranged it yet?" "Mrs. Qin, although I came to Yunqing because of Student Qin, I'm very busy." Hearing this, Mrs. Qin hated Bei Yunji even more, but she could only explain anxiously, Dr. Fang, I'm sorry. My mother had already discussed this with the dean, but because someone else in the family recommended it, another doctor also wants to treat my grandfather." Hearing this, Fang Gisheng felt that it was ridiculous. He sneered with a cold expression. "Even I have a 30% to 40% chance of failure for this kind of surgery. Other doctors? I'd like to see who's so confident." Qin Youjiao pretended to hesitate. "That doctor doesn't seem to be here yet. Preposterous." His expression was livid as he went upstairs. "I want to know who is so extravagant." Fang Gisheng was one of the top specialists in the country. In the past few years, he had indeed never encountered such treatment. Now, a person who hadn't even shown up was able to snatch away his patient. Was he treating him like a young doctor who had just made his debut? At this moment, could something have happened? Mrs. Qin frowned. Qin Youjiao laughed as a strange glint flashed past her eyes. "Mom, it's not easy for you to pressure the head of the hospital, but Dr. Fang is not someone to be trifled with in their circle. It would be best to let Fang Gisheng suppress the doctor hired by Bei Yunji. When the time comes." After the surgery, old Master Qin still remembered her good points. The office. Not too long after Principal Zhang returned, he brewed a cup of chrysanthemum tea to cool down. However, when he turned around and saw the email on the computer, he was stunned. "Wait a minute. Who sent this email?" The dean almost doubted if he had seen wrongly. Meanwhile, the office door was suddenly pushed open, and even the sound was mixed with anger. The director jumped in fright and turned to see Fang Gisheng's furious face. "Dr. Fang, I've heard a lot about you. Is it the rule of a private hospital that you don't have to knock?" Suppressing his anger, the director smiled insincerely. Chapter 230. Explanation? What explanation? The hospital director drank his chrysanthemum tea expressionlessly. "Old Mr. Qin is my patient. If your hospital doesn't let me treat him, do you not take human life seriously?" Fang Gisheng's tone was mocking. The hospital director smiled. "Of course not. It's just that old Mr. Qin signed an agreement. This operation can only be carried out if his granddaughter, Bei Yunji, agrees." "Isn't Qin Youjiao his granddaughter too?" "How would I know? Maybe the old man thinks Miss Pei is more sensible." With that said, the hospital director poured a cup of chrysanthemum tea slowly. "Dr. Fang, have a cup of tea to cool down." Fang Gisheng laughed coldly. "Director, I don't want to beat around the bush with you either. Since I'm in Yunqing, I have to be responsible for this patient. From what I know, Miss Pei is not even 20 years old and was cut off the moment she returned home. I really can't trust such a person's social relationships." Fang Gisheng had only been told by Qin Youjiao that Bei Yunji used to live in an orphanage and cut off her relationship with Mrs. Qin when she came back. He knew nothing else. Dr. Fong, is this the only solution? The hospital director's gaze turned cold. At this moment, Fong Gushing seemed to have suddenly remembered something and said with a smile, "How about this? I'll give the hospital director some face. Since Miss Pei is confident that the doctor she hired is better than me, you have to let me know who it is." Hearing this, the hospital director fell into deep thought. He could not figure out who Bei Yunj could get to treat him. But, are you unwilling? As the living Buddha in the patient's mouth, you won't fool around with a little girl, right? The hospital director took a deep breath and glanced at Fong Gushing, who was determined to bite the bullet. In the end, he could only agree. At the same time, the phone in the hospital director's office rang. "Hello, Director Hu? I'm Miss Bei Yunj's attending physician assistant. Is it convenient for you to answer a video call?" "Oh, sure." The hospital director was a little dazed. He did not expect this mysterious doctor to come looking for him. But at the same time, he was a little nervous. He did not know who the Dr. Bei Yunj would be. After all, logically speaking, Fong Gushing was indeed the most suitable person to operate on Old Master Qin. Miss Pei's attending physician requests a video call. "Dr. Fong, do you want to come with us?" the director asked. Frowning, Fong Gushing could only acquiesce. Video conference? He wondered what this person was up to. Did he know whose patient he had accidentally stumbled upon? Fong Gushing had a mocking expression on his face. He had already thought of how to mock this person. A short while later, it wasn't until the director turned on the projector used for video conferences that the two of them looked up and suddenly saw a figure eating instant noodles. The one who spoke was a very young voice. "Hello? Dean Hu, can you see me?" The corner of the dean's mouth twitched. Beside him, Fong Gushing sneered. Where did this random doctor come from? She was having a meeting while eating instant noodles? "Why don't you finish your noodles first before we talk?" the dean asked. I didn't eat noodles." After the assistant finished speaking, he turned his head and asked, "Who's eating noodles in the institute?" Meanwhile, Stephen, who was eating instant noodles, shuddered. He slowly raised his head and saw the camera aimed at him. Stephen cursed. "Bastard, who are you pointing the camera at?" Stephen picked up his book, pressed down on the lid of the instant noodles, and got up to slap her. Chapter 231. When he saw Stephen's twisted expression, the hospital director knew that this conversation would not go on for the time being. Fong Gushing couldn't help but sneer. Is this the medical team Miss Pei found? Could it be that Miss Pei spent some money casually and found some random team overseas? The hospital director frowned when he heard these harsh words. However, before he could retort, the hospital director suddenly felt that the person eating the instant noodles looked familiar. He seemed to have seen him somewhere before. "Have I seen him somewhere before?" the hospital director muttered to himself. Fong Gushing couldn't help but laugh out loud. He felt that the hospital director was saving Bei Yunj some face. "Hospital director, you're a reputable person in the country. How could you know this group of people from a medical institution who might not have broken the law?" The hospital director frowned when he heard this. "Dr. Fong, don't be so rude." Then, just as Fong Gushing was about to continue speaking, the person on the other end of the screen returned. He wiped the soup off his beard and placed the instant noodles under the desk without batting an eyelid. The hospital director was speechless. He had already seen everything clearly. Was there a need to hide it? "Hello, I'm Stephen, the director of Country R's Medical Research Institute. I sent you an email this morning, but you didn't reply. That's why I'm anxious." As soon as he finished speaking, Fong Gushing, who had been mocking him, froze. The hospital director jerked his head up and stared at Stephen's face. "Our Country R's Medical Research Institute? Mr. Stephen?" The hospital director's eyes widened. He finally realized where he had seen this person before. Wasn't this the person who had stood on the stage to speak at the academic exchange conference? Bei Yunj had actually managed to invite Mr. Stephen. This immortal's status in the medical industry was worlds apart from Fong Gushing's. The hospital director thought of the email just now. At first, he had wondered if it was a scam and hadn't dared to think in that direction. However, Mr. Stephen was actually the attending Dr. Bei Yunj had invited. Fang Gushing, who was standing beside him, obviously recognized the famous person in front of him. His face was pale and he stood there silently, as if he was part of the background. "May I ask how Miss Bei Yunj managed to invite you?" The principal couldn't help but ask. "Isn't this network too wide?" Even the big shots from overseas were not spared. "It's mainly because my old friends introduced me." Stephen was obviously very happy at the mention of Bei Yunj. The joy on her face made the director of the hospital inexplicably suspicious. It was as if Bei Yunj was the important connection they wanted. This situation simply made the dean feel extremely complicated. A short while later, the director slowly turned his head and looked at Fang Gushing expressionlessly. "Why aren't you saying anything?" He couldn't help but feel a little nervous facing a big shot alone. However, Fang Gushing's face instantly turned green and red. "You are." Stephen looked at him. Fang Gushing said stiffly, "My name is Fang Gushing. I was Elder Qin's attending physician in the beginning." "Listen to Yen." Suddenly, Stephen understood. He smiled amiably. "I see. Actually, this surgery isn't too difficult. I'm fully confident that I can do it well. If Dr. Fang can do it, I can talk to Miss Pei." Hearing this, Fang Gushing's legs almost gave out. He didn't have the guts to make such a guarantee. Chapter 232. "Mr. Stephen, I'm just here to confirm it. But since it's you, there's naturally no problem." Hearing Fang Gushing's 180-degree change in attitude, the director's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Even if he eats instant noodles during meetings, it can't stop his professionalism. "Dr. Fang, don't you think so?" the director asked with a smile in his native language. Fang Gushing's expression was terrible and he could not say a word. His mind was in a mess. He never thought that the person Bei Yunj found would be Mr. Stephen. Weren't Qin Youjiao and Mrs. Qin playing with him? Stephen's ability could be said to be the ceiling of this professional field. In the end, this mother and daughter pair still dared to come to him for treatment. Did they want to see him embarrass himself on purpose? At the door of the ward, Bei Yunj saw Mrs. Qin and Qin Youjiao sitting together, looking like a warm mother and daughter pair. But very quickly, her eyes glanced over lazily and she walked towards the ward with a basket of fruits. "Bei Yunj." Mrs. Qin stared at her with a cold expression. "Mrs. Qin, I'm not in the mood to listen to you." Bei Yunj turned around carelessly and glanced at her with a faint smile. Then, before Mrs. Qin could say anything, Bei Yunj pushed the door open and entered. "You dash." Mrs. Qin was stunned and gritted her teeth even more. "Mom, Dr. Fang is back." Qin Youjiao pulled Mrs. Qin and reminded her softly. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin immediately changed her attitude and looked at Fang Gushing gently. "Dr. Fang, have you talked to the director? I'm sorry to trouble you to have to settle such a small matter. After this operation is fine." "Who knew?" Fang Gushing interrupted her and sneered. "Mrs. Qin, you really think highly of me." These words made Mrs. Qin unable to react. Why did she feel that Fang Gushing's attitude towards them seemed to have become colder? "What do you mean, Dr. Fang? Miss Pei has already found an attending doctor. Why do you have to worry so much?" With that said, Fang Gushing suppressed the urge to scold Mrs. Qin on the spot and knocked on the door of the ward before entering. Only Mrs. Qin and Qin Youjiao were left standing at the door with ugly expressions. In the ward, "Miss Pei?" Fang Gushing took a deep breath and respectfully said, "Listen to Yen." Bei Yunj glanced at Fang Gushing and asked casually, "Who are you?" "Nice to meet you. I'm Fang Gushing." Fang Gushing didn't mind Bei Yunj's lukewarm attitude at all, but old Master Qin, who was next to him, had a strange expression on his face. Last time, he had also heard Mother Qin's call to Fang Gushing. This person was extremely arrogant and had a bad attitude. But now, Fang Gushing's tone when he spoke to Bei Yunj seemed to be carefully trying to please her. This wasn't an illusion, right? "Why are you looking for me?" Bei Yunj was not interested in Fang Gushing and did not even bat an eyelid. "This is my name card. If you need anything in the future, you can contact me." Fang Gushing put his business card in front of Bei Yunj and added, I can also come to Yunxing without charging you extra. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and glanced at him. Okay, thank you for your hard work, Dr. Fong. Seeing that Bei Yunj did not hold a grudge against him, Fong Gushing heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, Miss Pei, you must be joking. It's my honor. Chapter 233. Even after Fong Gushing left, old Master Qin was still staring at Bei Yunj in a daze. He felt that this granddaughter of his was a little unfamiliar. In the past, Gu was introverted and did not have many friends. However, the current girl had a strong youthful aura and always gave off a high-spirited feeling. If it wasn't for this face, he would have suspected that the person in front of him was Gu. Qin Youjiao, who was outside the door, stopped Fong Gushing, wanting to know what had happened. However, Fong Gushing only left with a cold expression and did not say anything to her. Did Bei Yunj say something to Dr. Fong? Mrs. Qin clenched her fists and the first person she thought of was Bei Yunj. Mom, don't be anxious about this. Since she wants the doctor she knows to operate on Grandpa so much, let's wait and see. A dark look flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes and she clenched her fists tightly. Jiao Jiao, I've wronged you. Mrs. Qin took Qin Youjiao's hand. Initially, Jiao Jiao had already found a doctor. She didn't know why Bei Yunj was so stubborn and insisted on finding another doctor herself. Mom, I don't care about this. I believe Yunj is doing this for Grandpa's own good. Qin Youjiao lowered her head and forced a smile. It's just that a few days ago, I submitted some documents to Second Brother's office and was eliminated in the first round. Second Brother seems to have really changed. With Qin Youjiao's appearance and popularity, it was impossible for her to be eliminated in the first round. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Qin's temper flared. All of them are really rebelling. If it wasn't for old Master Qin inside, she wanted to question Bei Yunj now. What kind of magic potion did she give Qin Yu and Qin Lang? These two people were willing to sever ties with their family to protect her. Jiao Jiao, don't worry. They will still find out how good you are in the end. Mrs. Qin caressed her head lovingly. Qin Youjiao hugged Mrs. Qin. Mom, I only have you now. Silly child. At noon, Bei Yunj returned to school and canceled her morning break. When she walked in from the classroom, she heard several girls discussing some emotional topics. Bei Yunj could only hear the boys' Adam's apple. Inexplicably, Bei Yunj suddenly thought of the situation last time. When class was about to start, Lu Yuanxi came back with a basketball. Deskmate, Bei Yunj suddenly said. Lu Yuanxi's eyes were somewhat guarded. What's wrong? If a guy's Adam's apple is touched, will he be very angry? It was also the first time Bei Yunj saw Hu Shidu's gaze. Hearing this, Lu Yuanxi slowly relaxed, then sat on the chair and chuckled. How could I? What's there to be angry about? Lu Yuanxi asked. Then why? Was he angry? Before Bei Yunj could finish her question, she felt Lu Yuanxi's gaze on her. You touched someone else's Adam's apple? Lu Yuanxi asked. Bei Yunj just looked at him without saying anything. Seeing this, Lu Yuanxi denied himself and laughed. No, why did you touch someone else's Adam's apple for no reason? Bei Yunj was silent for a moment before she asked, Will it be very serious? Lu Yuanxi looked at her strangely and snorted lazily. Not really. It's just that it's easy for something to happen. What happened? Seeing that Bei Yunj was very concerned about this question, Lu Yuanxi thought for a moment and changed his wording. You will want to have a new life with the person who touches your Adam's apple. Chapter 234. Bei Yunj froze. Lu Yuanxi warned, Don't do anything rash. Men are bad in this aspect. Most men might not reject such a thing even if they didn't like it. Suddenly, Bei Yunj seemed to understand why Hu Shidu's voice was a little hoarse at that time. Lu Yuanxi said, Deskmate, your homework. Bei Yunj pushed the homework to him and turned around to calm himself down. Lu Yuanxi was speechless. As expected of his deskmate, he was very cold. After school, Bei Yunj went to the institute first. Just as Bei Yunj was teaching his two interns, a middle-aged man in a suit barged in. Is Miss Pei here? Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and saw that his eyes were calm. After glancing at the two interns, he walked straight to the camera. I'm Delaney. Miss Pei should have some impression of me, right? The contract we discussed last time. At this moment, the door was pushed open again and Marcus's voice sounded. Delaney. He had finally stabilized Bei Yunj, but Delaney was looking for trouble at this time. Delaney, I'm warning you, don't anger me. Marcus also walked in front of Delaney, his face livid. Seeing this, Delaney was a little surprised. He had heard that Marcus treated the new member as a treasure, but he did not expect it to be to this extent. It looks like Bei Yunj is really important to our nation's computing institute. Delaney smiled and his gaze landed on the screen where Bei Yunj's face could not be seen. Miss Pei, can't you show your true face and talk? As soon as he finished speaking, Tich and Jasmine, who had been following Bei Yunj in class, held their breaths. They also wanted to know what their teacher looked like. There's nothing wrong with that. Bei Yunj's tone was lazy. Then, the camera panned and everyone saw Bei Yunj's eyes clearly. The girl had black hair and red lips. Her gaze was cold and her eyes were flirtatious with a faint smile. However, when she raised her eyebrows, she had a rebellious youthful vibe. She was unbelievably young and beautiful. Teacher. The two interns beside him were shocked. Their teacher was actually so young? He was too good-looking. If you want to sign the right to use it, look for Marcus to draw up a contract. Bei Yunj said indifferently. Are you Miss Pei? Delaney found it hard to believe that someone who could create such a project would be so young. He had seen many young geniuses, but he had never seen someone like Bei Yunj, who was aiming for the Busaka Prize at such a young age. Is there anything else? Bei Yunj looked up. When these words fell into the ears of the two interns, they automatically thought of Bei Yunj's daily sentence. Do you have any more questions? This kind of precise control, impatient and threatening tones simply reminded them of the nightmares they had in class. Miss Pei, this should be your first time signing a contract, right? With such a price, very few people are willing to cooperate, Delaney said. Bei Yunj chuckled. After all, there aren't that many smart people. Delaney was speechless. He seemed to have been mocked. Miss Pei, if I don't do this project, who would dare to do it? Marcus and the two interns beside him felt their scalps go numb when they heard that Delaney dared to threaten Bei Yunj directly. Delaney, is there a lack of people in your circle who gamble with their lives? Bei Yunj teased. At the same time, Delaney subconsciously raised his head and froze. Phew. Chapter 235. Delaney clenched his fists and stared at Bei Yunj's face. Was this really a young lady in her 20s? Why was she more intelligent than those old researchers? It's up to you whether you want this contract or not. I've also said that after the project is completed, any company that wants the right to use it will have to pay double the fee. Bei Yunj was neither cold nor warm. Delaney was speechless. Forget about doing research. She would be a rare talent if she went back to the company with him. I'll sign it. Delaney gritted his teeth and only said these two words. As for the others, they quickly turned to look at the livid Delaney. He was going to sign it so soon? Didn't he still think that it was too expensive and that a dignified Zhou was acting shamelessly? Yes, close the door. I have to go to class. Bei Yunj nodded without any psychological burden. Delaney, who wanted to curse, was speechless. In the end, Delaney still left weakly. Marcus, who was at the side, could not bear it and patted his shoulder to comfort him. There will be many opportunities to work together in the future. Delaney, who was stabbed in the back, almost had a distorted expression. Tich said carefully, Teacher. What's wrong? Bei Yunj flipped through the information and frowned. Why did he take so long to explain such a small amount of content? That Delaney just now is my father. Tich braced himself and admitted. Bei Yunj paused and looked up at him. You want to go home with him? Tich shook his head frantically. No. Teacher, I wanted to come to the research institute myself. I was afraid that you would feel pressured. Tich's voice became softer and softer. What if the teacher thought that he was here to be a spy? Bei Yunj did not even raise his head. Pressure? Write fewer strange reports and hand them to me. I'll feel less pressure. Titch was speechless. Jasmine was speechless. Sorry, it was their fault. All right, let's continue with class. She glanced at them with a deep gaze. Bei Yunj felt that he was still too young and had not suffered the hardships of society. He actually agreed to Marcus's request to teach an intern and Marcus's little niece. At night, Bei Yunj came back late and did not see the man. Normally, Bei Yunj would have asked Auntie Meow first. But now, when Bei Yunj thought about touching his Adam's apple, she did not know how to face Washidu. Bei Yunj, what a bad move. She calmly took a deep breath and went upstairs. In front of the desk, Bei Yunj casually combed her black hair with a pen. Only a small strand of hair was left in front of her ears. How would I know that there was such a thing? Bei Yunj couldn't help muttering to herself as her slender fingers twirled the pen. But in the end, she still touched him. An hour later, Bei Yunj went downstairs to get some water. She didn't expect to see the man standing sideways at the long table pouring water. Brother! It was Bei Yunj's first time seeing Hwashidu wearing a black cotton shirt. It was very textured. The shirt was neatly tucked into his suit pants. His shoulders were wide and his waist was narrow. His long legs were too abstinent. However, at this moment, the man's eyes were deep. His posture was lazy and sexy. The two buttons on his collar were loose, revealing his exquisite collarbone. His entire person was lustful and frivolous. It was simply a criminal temptation. Chapter 236. Why was his hair wet? Bei Yunj saw that Hwashidu didn't say anything and looked at him again. The man's gaze was different too. The light in his eyes was completely hidden. It was ambiguous and dark, as if he was blatantly seducing her. Bei Yunj's gaze seemed to have been burned. She quickly looked away and asked, "Why is your hair wet? Did you drink?" He still smelled of alcohol. Bei Yunj frowned unconsciously and suddenly remembered something. The last time at the Qin family's old residence, Hwashidu seemed to have smelled of alcohol too, and he looked a little strange. Could it be that he couldn't drink? Don't tell me you fought with someone? Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes moved. Before she could finish speaking, the man suddenly leaned closer. He leaned over and looked straight at her. He said casually, "It's little Yun Yun." Bei Yunj's heart suddenly beat faster when she was suddenly stared at like that. Forget it. Bei Yunj didn't intend to ask further. She pulled the man's sleeve and wanted to bring him upstairs. Who knew? The man suddenly grabbed her wrist with one hand and leaned lazily on the long table. He reached out to her head again. You? Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, Hwashidu suddenly took off the fountain pen that was coiled around Bei Yunj's hair. At that moment, Bei Yunj's black hair scattered, but her sparkling eyes were staring at him. The man seemed to be in a good mood. His eyes darkened even more, and his magnetic and pleasant laughter sounded in a low voice. "Call me brother and I'll return it to you." Bei Yunj looked at his wet hair and said gently, "Are you going to take a shower later?" Suddenly, Bei Yunj was gently knocked on the head. "You only want to take advantage of me all day long?" The handsome and noble man's posture was light and lazy. His voice was long, as if he wanted to seduce her. Bei Yunj was speechless. Hence, Bei Yunj's good temper in her life was almost used up today. In the bedroom, after Bei Yunj blew Hwashidu's hair, she could tell that Hwashidu's voice was a little hoarse and magnetic. It seemed that he had caught a cold. He didn't know what was going on today. Bei Yunj recalled the scene just now and her eyelids twitched. "Brother, why do you like to bully people after drinking?" The man didn't answer. It also attracted Bei Yunj's attention. "Brother, I'll get you some hot water to take a bath. Don't go out." Bei Yunj softened her tone again. "You've caught a cold. You have to get better soon, right?" The man's eyes fell on her without an inch of avoidance. Seeing her bright eyes looking at him, his eyes unconsciously darkened. "Yes." Hwashidu's voice was low and magnetic. Seeing this, before Bei Yunj could breathe a sigh of relief, she suddenly heard a voice coming from downstairs. It was very light, but it gradually became clear. "Shidu? Shidu? Old Madam Hua must have gone upstairs." When Bei Yunj heard this, she was about to walk out of the door when she suddenly remembered that this was Hu Shidu's bedroom. Bei Yunj was speechless. At this time, if she went out, old Madame Hu might get engaged to her brother at the end of the year. Thinking of old Madame Hu's urgent mood, Bei Yunj felt that she could not let old Madame Hu see her in the bedroom. However, she did not know what would happen if she left Hu Shidu alone here. Bei Yunj turned her head and looked at Hu Shidu for a long time. She only thought of one idea. After the old madam went upstairs. Chapter 237. Alas, let's go find sister. Mo pulled Alas and discussed in a childish voice. Alas tilted his head as if he didn't understand anything and just circled around his little master. Grandma, I'm going to find sister. Mo held Alas's hand and said happily. Go, go. Old Madame Hu frowned. After turning on the lights, she only saw the hairdryer on the table. She muttered to herself, why isn't he here? He should have just come back. Old Madame Hu muttered in the bedroom and walked around. At this moment, Bei Yunj was huddled in the corner of the closet. Her entire body was a little stiff, but she couldn't move for fear of being discovered. The more she thought about it, the more she couldn't understand what the person who hid in the closet was thinking. Wasn't he sullen? Until Bei Yunj's ear suddenly felt an itchy heat. The man's low and magnetic voice was lazy and sexy. It made her ears burn. Yun, sit on brother's lap. Bei Yunj's entire body froze, and her heart beat uncontrollably fast. Brother, you. Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, the man suddenly pulled her over. Her whole body was trapped in his arms, sitting on his lap. The pleasant cold fragrance around her was mixed with the smell of alcohol. The quiet and secluded space was filled with a sense of taboo. Before she could break free, she heard a low laughter in her ear again. It was ostentatious and ambiguous, making one's heart tremble. Yun, do you want brother to recover faster from his cold? This time, all of Bei Yunj's calmness and self-control were shattered. This man today was simply asking for her life. Not long after, Mo returned. Grandma, sister isn't here either. Mo pursed his lips and said. It wasn't easy for him to come and see his sister. All right, baby. Maybe your brother took sister Pei out to play. Old Madame Hu coaxed. Let's go back first, okay? But I want to wait for sister. Mo hesitated. Suddenly, Alas broke free from Mo's hand and ran towards the closet. He held a floral ribbon in his mouth and pulled it out happily. It was as if he had discovered something incredible. Inside the closet, Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. She could only take a deep breath and take off her coat. She was completely unaware that in this narrow and dim environment, the man's eyes fell on her without hiding anything, and his eyes gradually darkened. Mo, what is Alas talking about? Old Madame Hu was puzzled. I'll go take a look. Mo quickly ran over and found that Alas was pulling a floral ribbon. It looked a little like the belt on Sister Pei's clothes. Mo, what is Eris doing? After old Madame Hu asked, she was about to walk over again. Grandma, it's nothing. Momo blinked and glanced at the wardrobe. Finally, she secretly pulled the tape from Alyssa's mouth. Eris, we should go home. There's roast chicken tonight. After Mo finished speaking, Alice gave up on the idea of the belt. It happily rubbed its little master's cheek. Seeing that old Madame Hu had finally left, Bei Yunj also breathed a sigh of relief. She liked Mo more and more. Fortunately, there was Mo otherwise. If she was discovered, she was really afraid that old Madame Hu would contact her old master on the spot. However, when Bei Yunj thought of this man's actions just now, her eyelids could not help but twitch. You did it on purpose. Bei Yunj stared at Hu Shidu and said expressionlessly. The man leaned lazily against the wooden board. Huh. Chapter 238. Bei Yunj was speechless. Seeing this, the man's low and hoarse laughter was hopelessly sexy. Yun, what's wrong? Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved. She wanted to stand up, but she tripped over something in the dark and fell back into the man's arms. Bei Yunj seemed to have accidentally poked the man's firm abdomen. She heard him grunt softly, making her blush and her heart race. Brother, Before Bei Yunj could finish explaining, she met the man's eyes. The man leaned against the wooden board. His gaze was frivolous and his eyes were dark. His entire aura was lustful and deadly. However, at this moment, Bei Yunj started to notice the man's Adam's apple through the dark light. But in the next moment, Bei Yunj quickly looked away. Seeing this, the man's lips curled up imperceptibly. Before Bei Yunj could react, he suddenly leaned closer. He lowered his voice and laughed cynically. "Where did you touch me just now, little greedy cat?" At this moment, Bei Yunj was really about to explode. The next day, Hoshidu woke up very early. However, when he was reading the newspaper downstairs and waiting for Bei Yunj to come downstairs to eat, he saw the little girl glance at him and sit down at the table. "Thank you, Aunt Meow." After Bei Yunj thanked Aunt Meow, who brought the dishes over, she continued eating. Hoshidu did not know how he had offended this child. During the meal, Hoshidu scooped the porridge slowly, but his gaze was fixed on Bei Yunj. "Yun, I'm full. Brother, eat slowly." Bei Yunj suddenly stood up and smiled at him. With that said, Bei Yunj took her backpack and left. The man tapped his fingertips on the table and thought for a moment. "Aunt Meow, what's wrong with Yun?" "Aunt Meow, Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not too sure about this either. My child had a high fever last night, so I cooked dinner and went home." Hoshidu narrowed his eyes. "Yes, it's fine. Maybe she's not in a good mood. Sir, you can coax her more. Miss Pei is quite cute. I like her very much too." Auntie Meow smiled. "Yes, she's cute." He laughed casually. When a little girl is angry, she's like a cat with its fur standing on end. However, he had a feeling that there was something that made the little girl so unhappy. On this day, the sensation that spread from abroad to within the country shocked everyone. Even the top 3 on the headlines were slaughtered. #Delaney Group's new technology #country our computing institute. Delaney Group #don't say knowledge can't change fate #in the past. News from the scientific research community rarely made it to the top of the list. But this time, it really shocked everyone. As the most high-end technology group abroad, the Delaney Group had actually signed more than $1 billion worth of technology rights. If converted to their country's currency, it would be 10 billion. Furthermore, the usage period was only 5 years. Even the Delaney Group, which was famous for being stingy, had been ruthlessly squeezed dry. This made the netizens excited. No way, 10 billion? Back then, those who said that they were doing scientific research and didn't earn much came over and counted. "How many zeros are there? What a ruthless move. Haha, I heard that she's the new ace member of Country R's Computing Institute. And she's a young lady from our country." Chapter 239. Our country? This is too glorious. To be honest, the only person our country can really produce is Wang Lin. She shouldn't be young anymore. It's a little weird to call her a little sister. I want to argue. Then why didn't she stay in the country? Is the air overseas sweeter? Question, I'm convinced. There's even a contrarian here? Did he lose his mind from chasing celebrities? Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Are you treating the big boss as a popular celebrity? Take care of your street, understand? At the Computing Institute. Old master, look at this news. Is it talking about our master pay? After interacting with Bei Yunj, Xianxia's relationship was quite good. He did not care that Bei Yunj was a few years younger than him. What the hell? Wang Lin put on his glasses and scanned the news. His old face darkened and he started to gnash his teeth. That B** starred really got off easy. *CK. It's really master pay? Xianxia was shocked. Wang Lin slapped the back of Xianxia's head. New member. In the past 2 years, other than her, has Country R's Computing Institute recruited anyone else? He was heartbroken again. Look at you again. You're also a new member, but you joined our institute a year or 2 earlier. What did you do? She entered the institute for a month and gave Country R's Computing Institute a 10 billion yuan project. She made the headlines and was in the limelight. What about you? Si Qingyan was speechless. Not everyone would be able to get 10 billion in their lifetime, okay? Zhong Shenglin's gaze became even more determined. No, I have to poach her as soon as possible. This was really a mistake of 100 million yuan per second. Not only Zhong Shenglin, even Stephen, who was hiding in his office and eating instant noodles, was speechless. Was Marcus's luck exploding? Why was their institute so lucky this year? Cheng Zihuai, who had also seen this explosive news, had a dark gaze. Zihuai, what are you thinking about? Qin Youjiao smiled. She had just finished styling herself when she saw the news on Cheng Zihuai's phone screen. Qin Youjiao raised an eyebrow and teased deliberately, I wonder how old a female researcher with such achievements is. But I believe that you will be able to do the same in the future. Hearing this, Cheng Zihuai did not agree. He was indeed talented, but that was only when compared to ordinary people. The ace member of the Computing Institute of Country R was one of the rarest of geniuses. There was no way she could be compared to her. Zihuai, what's wrong? Why are you so unhappy? Qin Yushao asked with a coy smile. Cheng Zihuai snapped back to his senses and shook his head. You know this person too. I know. Qin Youjiao froze. Cheng Zihuai clenched his fists and pursed his lips. It's the teacher I wanted to follow before. This is her project. These words surprised Qin Youjiao as well. She had never thought that the teacher Cheng Zihuai wanted to follow would have such ability. It was no wonder that Cheng Zihuai had been depressed for so long when he did not get this connection back then. However, after seeing this news, Cheng Zihuai was probably not in a good mood now. After all, if he had become this person's student back then, the Cheng family would have risen because of this person. She's too arrogant. Chapter 240. Qin Youjiao said with a frown. Ranwo Pavilion. Hearing this, no matter how unbalanced Cheng Zihuai felt, he knew very well that if that person wanted students, there would indeed be a large number of outstanding students willing to follow her. She's indeed amazing. Cheng Zihuai's eyes darkened, but he was thinking about something else. Marcus had told him that this person was also in Yunqing. So, if he found this person, there might be a chance for her to accept him. Zihuai, I believe you'll be like her in the future, Qin Youjiao said with a smile. Hearing this, Cheng Zihuai caressed her head and said with a smile, aren't you going to do a live stream? Go do the live stream first. I've already informed a few uncles I know in advance. If there are any resources, I'll push them to you first. Zihuai, you're so good to me. Qin Youjiao said coquettishly. Until Friday. The headlines started to be related to the Qin family again. The reason was that Qin Youjiao had accidentally revealed during the live stream that Bei Yunj had chased away Fang Gixing and found another famous doctor to operate on old Master Qin. The moment this news came out, many netizens started to scold Bei Yunj for being unfilial. No matter how much she fought with Qin Youjiao, there was no need to take the old master's life lightly. Then, the marketing account of Qin Youjiao's contract company even exposed all sorts of things. They said that Bei Yunj did this for the family assets. Because old Master Qin liked Bei Yunj, most of the Qin family's assets were left to Bei Yunj. With this news, more people were filled with righteous indignation. Old Master Qin likes her so much. Is she crazy? My heart aches for old Master Qin. If this is true, the Qin family has really attracted an ingrate. Qin Youjiao was scolded so badly a while ago. She's cleared her name now? Isn't it too fast? Indeed, this elder young miss wants to debut. The moment a certain someone debuted, she wanted to trample on another young lady no matter what. I don't know what illness she has. Jealousy? Confused. The two people above, let's earn money together. Back then, Qin Youjiao was the one who apologized and was even scolded. I think the real scheming person is that young lady who has never appeared before, right? Relying on Director Lin to clear her name, I feel bad that Director Lin still has to use her reputation to clean up the mess for some people in her later years. Not long after, more insiders began to reveal the truth. Director Lin's character is impeccable. However, if some people did not want to learn well, it would be useless even if the Daoist Immortal personally taught them. She's the daughter of Director Lin, but she's actually at the bottom of the level. Qin Youjiao is already second in the level. Gradually, the public's impression of Bei Yunj began to decline. In the office, Jiao, the company has already arranged for someone to follow Bei Yunj. When the time comes, we will be able to get a picture of who she invited for the surgery. But, are you sure that she won't hire any experts? The manager asked with a smile. Qin Youjiao drank the black tea and smiled at her. Are you sure that there's someone in the country who's better than Fang Gixing in this aspect? Although she did not know why Fang Gixing had left in anger, this might be because Bei Yunj had played some tricks. That's good. As long as you trample on her, your image as a young lady will be stable. Hearing this, the smile on Qin Youjiao's face froze. The word, image, had hit her where it hurt. Her eyes darkened as she pursed her lips. The young lady of the Qin family did not need Bei Yunj's existence. She would make this person disappear. Same as the Almighty. Chapter 241. Hover. Calligraphy Pavilion. More good. What made Qin Youjiao even more uneasy was that she seemed to be the only one in the entire industry who knew that Yu Manran was actually the eldest young lady of the Yu family. At that time, if Yu Manran's identity was exposed, it would probably affect her quite a bit. Sister, do you know Yu Manran? Qin Youjiao asked calmly. Yes. I don't know where she found a composer this year. She became popular with just one song and her popularity is higher than the A-list now. Even they had their sights set on the composer. However, they could not get any information at all. It was said that it was someone Yu Manran knew. Sister, can you find that composer? Qin Youjiao said with a smile. She can bid as much as she wants. I want her to write a song for me. In the evening, when Stephen found out about this, he was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. I'm a pheasant expert? Did you hear that? Did you hear what old Zhong said? F***CK, I'm going to sue those keyboard warriors. Stephen's face flushed red. He had never suffered such grievances in his life. Inspector, calm down. Our institute hasn't earned 1 billion yuan, where would we get so much money to sue? The assistant immediately said gently. Stephen was speechless. If this brat hadn't been with him for so many years, he really wanted to fire him. Miss Pei said that Dr. Fong went to post an explanation. Don't be anxious. When they know who did the surgery, they won't dare to be so impudent. That's true. At this thought, Stephen's mood improved. He laughed coldly. A bunch of ignorant brats. I want to see if they still dare to talk nonsense when they know who they are scolding. Seeing Stephen's noble and cold expression, the assistant's eyelids twitched. Yes, you're right. What happened this time was beyond his expectations. Fang Gixing, who had just gotten off work and was about to have a candlelit dinner with his wife, was shocked. Then his face darkened. Who was the one who complained that his life was too comfortable? Did they have to drag him out and be mocked by the entire internet? However, not long after. The internet was still in a heated discussion. Following this, Fang Gixing's clarification video became the focus of everyone's attention as soon as it was released. It was crazily viewed and forwarded. Fang Gixing, who was shooting the video, was wearing ordinary clothes. He didn't look too good, but he said a few words politely. He had confirmed that the attending doctor hired by Bei Yunj was indeed more experienced than he was. He hoped that everyone could relax and stop attacking others. However, as the number of views of this video increased, there were actually people who started the momentum. Dr. Fong doesn't look too well. A certain heiress is 666. How could she threaten an innocent doctor? Just look at it. He's very reluctant to shoot a video. Is there anyone else who will wash Bei Yunj's clothes? Dr. Fong, blink when you're being threatened. We support you. Stephen sat in front of the computer and translated the comments one by one. His expression gradually turned ugly. These people really wanted to satisfy their own fantasies. Everything was said according to what they thought. There's no need to be angry, Stephen. They hate me, not you. Bei Yunj smiled lazily. That won't do. What right do they have to criticize you? Stephen was so angry that his face darkened. He might as well. He found the official social media account of Country A that the Our Nation Medical Institute had registered a few years ago. Guru Tong. Chapter 242. Stephen sneered. I'd like to see what else they can make up. After that, Stephen hung up the phone after exchanging a few more words with Bei Yunj. Calligraphy Pavilion more good. She couldn't wait for those stupid humans to open their eyes wide and take a good look at who the pheasant expert they were talking about was. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched when she was hung up on. She sent a message to her assistant to remind Stephen to board the plane. Not long after. She thought for a moment, opened the social media app, and scrolled through the headlines. She clicked on it and saw that the first post was a video about Dr. Fong. However, just as everyone was scolding Dr. Fong, someone suddenly noticed that a big shot had liked the video. They clicked on the profile picture and found that it was a verified official account. Country R's Medical Research Institute. Everyone? What was going on? Why would Country R's Medical Research Institute like Dr. Fong when they had nothing to do with him? Then, just as they were feeling uneasy, they saw that the official account that had not been updated for a few years suddenly reposted Dr. Fong's clarification post. What was going on? Could it be that the expert Bei Yunj hired was from Country R's Medical Research Institute? Many people couldn't help but gasp when they saw this. However, they were also puzzled. How did Bei Yunj know someone from Country R's Medical Research Institute? Could it be that it was also because of Director Lin? Director Lin's social circle was too wide, wasn't it? Because Country R's Medical Research Institute had publicly reposted the video, Qin Youjiao's team, who was manipulating public opinion, didn't know what to do for a moment. They could only wait and see. At this time, the netizens were also confused. Checked. Director Stephen of Country R's Medical Research Institute is an expert in this field. He's a world-famous expert. Oh my God, Bei Yunj is too amazing, isn't she? What does this have to do with Bei Yunj? Even if it is, it's Director Lin's credit. Don't joke around. Do you believe it? Everyone in the circle knows that Stephen's surgery volume is limited in a year. Even if Bei Yunj is booked, it won't be this year. Stephen even performed surgery for her family. The Qin family is nothing in the world. Do you understand? The person above is harsh, but it's the truth. Stephen's number of surgeries is limited. This year's patients were confirmed in March. Bei Yunj skimmed through these comments and returned to the Computing Institute. Masterpay, quick, come and take a look at my project. See if there's anything that can be improved. The moment he saw Bei Yunj, Si Qingyan enthusiastically pulled Bei Yunj to his research lab. Brat, stop right there. Zhong Shenglin suddenly appeared and immediately separated the two of them. Take care of your own projects. Don't take shortcuts. With that said, Zhong Shenglin looked at Bei Yunj gently. Yunj, I heard that the contract you signed with Marcus is for 3 months? When Si Qingyan heard this topic, he knew what the old master was up to again. He had not managed to poach her after so long. He even complained that he was hindering him from poaching her. After Si Qingyan left, Bei Yunj smirked. I was in urgent need of money back then, so I signed for 3 months. What about now? Zhong Shenglin asked urgently. Elder Zhong, you can see that Marcus is very good to me, said Lin Feng. Bei Yunj's eyes curved. So, at least for now, I can't think about this. Same as the Almighty. Chapter 243. Bei Yunj's meaning was clear. She was indebted to Marcus for recognizing her worth. Even if she had not promised Marcus that she would stay in their institute in the future, at least she could not decide to come to the Computing Institute at this time. Hearing this, Zhong Shenglin's heart ached even more. What kind of luck did Marcus have? He really met someone like Bei Yunj, who was sentimental about old ties. Yunj, I understand what you mean. But if you choose the Domestic Computing Institute, I sincerely hope that you can choose our Computing Institute first. Lin smiled. Although I might not be able to offer the generous conditions that Marcus offered, it's a private computing institute. If you're willing, I hope you can be my successor. With that said, Bei Yunji's eyelashes fluttered and she looked up at him again. Usually, even if it was a private research institute, it seemed that more people would want their children to inherit it. Just like in her previous life, as a well-known physicist in the industry, Mrs. Pei had also nurtured Bei Yunji in that area, hoping that Bei Yunji would inherit her physics institute. In the end, Bei Yunji secretly opened a computing institute herself. Because of this, Mrs. Pei was so angry that she did not speak to Bei Yunji for a month. "Thank you, Elder Zhong," Bei Yunji said with a smile. "You don't have to be too stressed. My grandson is indeed studying computing, but his aptitude is average and he can't control the computing institute. What I hope more is that the computing institute can be passed down and walk towards glory." Zhong Shenglin looked at the long term and focused more on the computing industry in Country A. As for his grandson, he had also left behind a lot of family assets, enough for them to live in peace for the rest of their lives. Saturday. Bei Yunji went to the airport and received her quietly. About 10:30 p.m. A tall middle-aged man with blonde hair and blue eyes came out. Bei Yunji recognized Stephen at a glance from the photos online. At the same time, although Stephen had just gotten off the plane, he was still refreshed. He said excitedly and happily, "Tisk, let's walk faster. Maybe Yunji is waiting." The assistant was speechless. "She's not your granddaughter. Why are you so happy to see her?" Suddenly, Stephen and Selena saw a beautiful young girl walking towards them. Bei Yunji took off her mask, revealing her delicate and beautiful face. She smiled and said, "Stephen, we finally meet." Stephen froze when he heard this familiar voice. This was Yunji. Stephen could not come back to his senses for a long time. He had heard Marcus brag that their Yunji was especially beautiful and did not believe it for a moment. But now, this standard Oriental beauty's face was really hard to find fault with. Especially the bright and beautiful expression between her eyebrows, it was unforgettable. "Yunji, I really didn't expect you to look like this." After a while, Stephen couldn't help but laugh. "Let's go. I'll be a good host and take the two of you to dinner." Bei Yunji chuckled. "Sure. This Yun city is really not bad." Stephen laughed loudly. However, in the corner, a sneaky young man secretly took a picture of Bei Yunji and Stephen walking together. However, what he did not expect was that Bei Yunji did not bring her to the hospital. Instead, they went to a scenic spot to play. He thought for a moment and called Qin Youjiao's manager to tell her about this. "You don't have to let me see it. Just post it online. Just say that Bei Yunji hired a quack overseas and is eating, drinking, and having fun with others. She doesn't take old Master Qin's illness to heart." Chapter 244. What if he's not a quack? The young man could not help but hesitate. "Then we have to post it even more." The manager chuckled. "If that person cures old Master Qin, what's the point of posting it? On the other hand, if we do this, more people will think that Bei Yunji is gambling." "I got it." The young man nodded and stopped following Bei Yunji and the rest. "Inspector, Miss Pei, someone followed us and took photos secretly just now." With that said, Stephen, who was eating soup dumplings, almost choked. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" At this moment, Bei Yunji said slowly, "I saw it. It's all right, I'll delete it later." When she said this, those who didn't know would almost think that Bei Yunji was planning to delete her post. Only Stephen vaguely remembered how Bei Yunji made the headlines back then. "There's no need for that." Stephen patted his chest, his expression confident. "Don't worry, leave this to me." Stephen pulled Bei Yunji and his assistant along and took a photo as a souvenir. Soon, he posted it on his social media app and Marcus's phone. Marcus sent messages crazily. "You went for a meal with Yunji? Are you there? Let me show you Yunji's Computing Institute identity card." Smile. "How childish. Do you think I can be angry? Boring. Ha, I've blocked you. Goodbye, brother." After reading this long string of messages, the corners of Stephen's lips twitched. Wasn't this childish enough? He wasn't angry? In the afternoon. In the ward. Dad, I've said it before. This isn't a child who grew up in our family after all. We don't know her background. You're still... Before Mrs. Qin could finish speaking, she was interrupted by old Master Qin. If you continue to spout nonsense, I'll get Qin Ting to send you back to your parents' home. These words made Mrs. Qin open her mouth with an ugly expression, but she didn't know what to say. Are you still worthy of being a mother? You're so righteous even when you talk bad about your daughter. Shameless. Once old Master Qin was angered, he felt dizzy. The nurse beside him quickly comforted old Master Qin, telling him not to get angry. Mrs. Qin pursed her lips and said, but the news on the internet was also taken by someone else. It can't be that someone deliberately tried to harm her. Who took it? I'll get my lawyer to sue him right now. Upon hearing old Master Qin's words, Mother Qin's face turned green and red. She was speechless. She couldn't hope for Grandpa Sheng to come to his senses. Hey, this person looks familiar, the nurse suddenly said. Mrs. Qin's eyes lit up. You know him? Who is it? Old Master Qin glanced at Mrs. Qin. Disgust flashed across his eyes, and he closed his eyes impatiently. Let me think. The nurse racked her brains and felt that this person looked very familiar. A few minutes later, Mrs. Qin became a little anxious. She suddenly exclaimed, I remember now. This is Stephen. What's Stephen? Mrs. Qin suddenly had a bad premonition. The director of Country R's Medical Institute, Stephen. The nurse looked at old Master Qin enviously. Mr. Stephen rarely takes on surgeries. This year, his surgeries are full. Miss Pei must have put in a lot of effort for you. She's so good to you. She's a filial girl. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Qin's face turned pale and her eyes lost focus. How could this be? How could Bei Yunj invite such a person? Chapter 245. Could it be Director Lin? But how could Director Lin have such a wide network? Look, this is someone who can even step on her own daughter. Old Master Qin laughed coldly. Mrs. Qin wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, she could only bite her lip with a red face and remain silent. At this moment, a group of netizens who did not know the situation were about to tear into each other. A certain young lady is really interesting to go out and play with an old man at this time. I really feel bad for Director Lin. Even if you blow up your account this time, I still want to scold you. You just can't compare to Qin Youjiao. Don't you know that? Why are you scolding Bei Yunj? A group of people are confused and think that they are righteous. Don't you know how to write the word cyberbullying? This kind of B*TC should have such extravagance. If you have the ability, blow up my account. The matter was full of twists and turns, and it was getting more and more confusing. However, under the guidance of Qin Youjiao's marketing team, it still went in the direction they wanted. However, it wasn't long before another shocking scene appeared. A few minutes later, Qin Yu, who had been filming overnight for 2 days, immediately reposted that post when he saw it. Qin Yu? Smile. As for Qin Lang, who was training and had his phone confiscated, there was no movement. However, to everyone's surprise, Qin Lang's studio reposted Qin Yu's comment immediately after. Crush Qin Lang's studio? Smile. In less than a minute, the comments exploded. Ah, they're here. They're here. They're here with the anger of a sister complex. It's about to start. Is Brother Lang's studio trying to make me laugh to death? Shao sure, I'll protect Brother Lang's sister. Reporting, second sister-in-law's fans have gathered. Reporting, will gather again after third sister-in-law's fans finish eating. Sob sob sob, doghead, I'm speechless. So what if you have a best actor brother and an esports player brother? Are you relying on your fans to clear your name? I'm scared. You have a lot of fans and you're awesome, okay? Entertainers are ruining the country. Entertainers are ruining the country. Qin Yu and Qin Lang had many fans, but more importantly, this matter made people have a bad impression of Bei Yunj. As a result, some of Qin Yu and Qin Lang's fans were still persuading them to delete this post. After all, it was really too much. But who knew? At this moment, a certain group that was usually rarely active suddenly reposted Qin Yu's post as if they had agreed. Research Institute, Zhongxing Lin? Smile. Dean of Biology of Yunqing University? Smile. The former principal of Yunqing University? Smile. Professor Yu Guang? Smile. Yunqing University Medical Dean? Smile. Our nation's Medical Research Institute? Smile. This scene made one's scalp tingle. Everyone? Did he break through the dimension? What was going on? Was half of the scientific research community mobilized? So, everyone saw that Country R's Medical Research Institute had reposted someone's post. Our nation's Medical Research Institute. Heart. Our nation's Medical Research Institute. Stephen, my friend and me, picture. At this moment, everyone was shocked. So, the old man who was rumored to be having fun with Bei Yunj was Stephen, the director of Our Nation's Medical Institute. F***CK. What a deity! DBQ Mr. Stephen, I actually didn't recognize you. Is Bei Yunj a big boss harvester? Chapter 246. Lin Lanjun is her grandmother, and Stephen is her friend. The moment something happened to her, half of the scientific research field and two cis-obsessed brothers protected her. I'm so jealous, I'm jealous, I'm jealous. Goodbye. I'm starting to understand why Dr. Fang's expression isn't too good. This isn't an expert, but an ancestor. The one who offended him is the ancestor. The biological daughter of the big shots? The little darling of the brothers? Please, Master Pei, write an autobiography of the group's love. The moment Qin Yojiao debuted, Bei Yunj was scolded and became a trending topic, isn't that so? You're trying your best to push Bei Yunj away, but she's really loved by the group. On the internet, the people who had followed the trend to slander Bei Yunj seemed to have disappeared without a trace. On the contrary, only the haters who had started to slander Qin Yojiao were left. In the office, Qin Yojiao's expression was terrible and she wanted to smash her phone. She never thought that this matter would take such an unrealistic turn that was even more unrealistic than a dream. Jiao, this is quite unexpected. But don't worry, the company's public relations are already handling it. Don't worry. The manager was also anxious, but Qin Yojiao had just signed with their company, so it was not good for her to act like she was flustered. Thank you, sister. Qin Yojiao's expression improved slightly. At least, she still had a company behind her now, so she would not be too outnumbered. At the Hua Corporation. Seng Su, apart from telling you about the parent-teacher conference last time, what else did Yunyun say? Hua Shidu thought of how the little girl was throwing a tantrum and asked casually. I think so. With that said, Seng Su saw that his Master Du seemed to be thinking about something. Master Du, did you have a fight with Miss Pei? Hua Shidu glanced at him and did not say anything. This situation made it difficult for Tsing Su to understand. However, Tsing Su suddenly remembered what had happened in the past 2 days. Master Du, have you seen the recent headlines? What's wrong? Hua Shidu looked up and asked. Is that? Miss Pei was maliciously slandered. However, the two young masters of the Qin family and some seniors in the scientific research field are very protective of Miss Pei. Currently, this matter has been resolved. Seng Su couldn't help but exclaim when he thought of the melon he had eaten. Especially the phrase, big boss harvester, it was simply very popular. Aside from the big shots they knew, if anyone else found out that this little princess was living in the home of the president of the Hua Corporation, they would probably have a mental breakdown. Malicious? Hua Shidu's pale-colored eyes gradually turned cold and deep. There was an unfathomable danger in them. It's the tricks of the entertainment industry. The other Miss Qin of the Qin family has signed with an entertainment company. I'm guessing that the entertainment company is personally involved. After Tsing Su finished speaking, he added carefully, Master Du, do you need me to show my face? This would also prevent those people from thinking that Miss Pei had no one backing her. There's no need. Hua Shidu narrowed his eyes nonchalantly. His deep voice was emotionless. You caused trouble for my child. How can there be a second chance? Hearing this, Seng Su immediately understood. Master Du didn't intend to let that company continue to operate? Seng Su, okay. When he returned, Huashidu saw the young lady quickly greeting him and going upstairs. He didn't even look up when he was eating. The next day, Bei Yunj had just gone downstairs when she saw Yu Hanran and Huashidu sitting together. Before she could leave, she heard the man say, Yun. Chapter 247. At this moment, Yu Hanran also noticed Bei Yunj. He had a teasing look in his eyes, wanting to see how this couple interacted every day. From Huashidu's casual question, the two of them seemed to be quarreling. What's wrong? Bei Yunj turned around and looked at him with curved eyes. Come here. Hearing this, Bei Yunj glanced at him and then glanced at Yu Hanran, who was waiting for a good show. She walked towards Huashidu. When Huashidu saw this, the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He stood up and narrowed his eyes casually. He held her wrist with one hand and took off the rubber band. It's too hot outside. With that said, Huashidu stood in front of the girl and reached out. His slender and well-defined fingers gently lifted her curly hair and slowly tied it up for the girl. This scene made the smile on Yu Hanran's face freeze. Wait a minute. Shouldn't they be quarreling? Why did he let him see such a scene? After tying her ponytail, Bei Yunj glanced at Huashidu. Actually, she had long lost her temper. I'm going to the hospital. I'll be back later. Bei Yunj touched her hair. Okay. Huashidu curled his lips and reached out to rub her jawline. Yu Hanran was speechless. Hey, guys, am I invisible? In the morning, Stephen was undergoing surgery. Almost 4 hours later, the door to the operating theater opened. The surgery was very successful. Old Master will be fine after resting well. The other doctor smiled and could not help but say to Bei Yunj, it's all thanks to Miss Pei that I have the chance to share the stage with Mr. Stephen. You must be joking. Bei Yunj smiled. However, in the eyes of the Qin couple, this scene caused them to have complicated feelings. They had always felt that Bei Yunj was a loner and had no friends. They did not expect her to be friends with Stephen. They did not know how they got to know each other. It's been hard on you this time. Mr. Qin stepped forward and said gently. Bei Yunj's tone was indifferent. It's my duty. The smile on Mr. Qin's face froze. Of course, he knew that Bei Yunj was so attentive because of old Master Li. Otherwise, if it were him or Mother Qin, Bei Yunj probably wouldn't even look at them. Mr. Qin's eyes darkened. You and Jiao, Yunj, isn't it time to go eat? Stephen's voice sounded. Bei Yunj turned around and saw that Stephen was still in good spirits. She smiled and said, well, I have a friend later. Do you mind? What's there to mind? Stephen said and went to change his clothes. The two of them chatted in a familiar tone, as if they were old friends. However, the age difference was a little too big. Mr. Qin, if there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Mr. Qin reacted and quickly nodded. Be careful, Next. Even after Bei Yunj left, Mr. Qin's expression was still gloomy. Mrs. Qin stepped forward and said angrily, didn't I ask you to tell her to put in a good word for Jiao? Hearing this, Mr. Qin felt annoyed for no reason. Ger is the one who suffers every time. Why must she listen to me? With that said, Mrs. Qin was stunned for a moment. She could not imagine that these words would come from his mouth. Qin Ting, what do you mean? Bei Yunj is your daughter, but Jiao isn't? Mrs. Qin suddenly became agitated. She's my daughter to begin with. Mr. Qin reprimanded angrily. Chapter 248. Mrs. Qin's eyes widened as she stared at Mr. Qin in disbelief. All right, you don't want Jiao anymore? Mr. Qin was furious. Look at what Jiao has become. She didn't do it on purpose the first time, but what about the second and third time? Every time something happens to Go, it's related to her. How can I believe her? With that said, suddenly, the sound of something falling to the ground sounded not far away. Mr. and Mrs. Qin turned around and saw Qin Youjiao looking at Mr. Qin in disbelief and grievance with red eyes. At this moment, Mr. Qin panicked inexplicably. After all, this was the child he had doted on for almost 20 years. Jiao Jiao, Qin Youjiao turned around and ran away with red eyes. It's all your fault. How can Bei Yunj compare to Jiao Jiao? Why are all of you slowly standing on her side? Mrs. Qin's heart ached. Looking at the thermos box that had fallen to the ground, she immediately went forward to pick it up. Jiao Jiao is a filial child. If she hears what you said, she will definitely be very sad. Mrs. Qin panicked as well. For a moment, Mr. Qin felt complicated and guilty. He could only turn his face away and pinch the space between his eyebrows tiredly. How could he not want to have a happy family? However, it just so happened that he had carried the wrong child back then. Now, facing his two daughters, he did not know what to do. At noon, Chu Zhixing stood at the entrance of the hospital and waited, feeling inexplicably nervous. Until Bei Yunj's voice sounded. So, Chu Zhixing turned around and saw Bei Yunj walking over alone. Yunj, how's Grandpa Qin? The surgery was very successful. However, Bei Yunj was a little surprised that Chu Zhixing's first concern was her grandfather. She thought that this fellow should be more concerned about Country R's medical institute. That's good. Chu Zhixing heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. All right, who is the person you said you like from Country R's medical institute? Bei Yunj asked again. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing became even more nervous. Mr. Stephen. Bei Yunj was speechless. At this moment, Chu Zhixing suddenly remembered what had happened on the internet yesterday. His eyelids twitched and he took a deep breath calmly. Yunj, you said last time that you would help me talk about the application form. Don't tell me you're planning to look for Mr. Stephen? Yes, I only know him. Bei Yunj nodded without hiding anything. Seeing the complicated and regretful expression on Chu Zhixing's face, Bei Yunj couldn't help but smile. She glanced at her watch and then glanced at the elevator. Coincidentally, she saw Marcus change his clothes and come down. Suddenly, Chu Zhixing, who was in the midst of grief, heard an inexplicably familiar voice. Yunj, can we go to the supermarket later? Your country's instant noodles are really delicious. Stephen said happily. Chu Zhixing raised his head abruptly and saw the person he used to admire the most. This didn't seem to match the character he had in mind. Wasn't Mr. Stephen dressed in a suit and leather shoes every time he attended a meeting? Wasn't he cold and elegant? Although he wasn't very good at Country R's language, he understood the phrase, buy instant noodles. Okay, I'll send you a few boxes when the time comes. Bei Yunj didn't care much and suddenly said, oh right, this is my friend, Chu Zhixing. Mr. Stephen. Bei Yunj looked at Chu Zhixing and said concisely. After Chu Zhixing felt his idol's gaze, his body stiffened and he became nervous. Chapter 249. Hello, student Chu Zhixing. Stephen smiled, not putting on any airs on stage at all. However, for some reason, it made people want to get closer to him. Hello, Stephen was actually not a difficult person to get along with. However, Chu Zhixing's foreign language skills were not very good, so it was a little difficult for the two of them to communicate. However, after dinner, Stephen realized that the boy Bei Yunj brought was very talented in medicine. This made Stephen suddenly feel that Chu Zhixing was an unexpected surprise for him to come to Yuncheng. You signed up for our summer camp? Stephen could not help but laugh. Why don't you consider studying in Country R? When the time comes, you can come into contact with our research institute earlier. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing almost dropped his chopsticks. Really, can I really do that? One had to know that the interns recruited by Country R's medical institute were all postgraduate students. Last time, the medicine Yunj asked me to make should be for you, right? Stephen chuckled. Since you're Yunj's friend, there aren't so many rules. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing was stunned for a moment before he realized that his medicine was made by Stephen instantly. Chu Zhixing looked at the girl beside him, who was eating with her head buried in her food. His heart seemed to have been brushed by water. On this day, Qin Yu, who had just applied for leave from the director and was about to go to Bei Yunji's parent-teacher conference, suddenly received a call. "You, have you been home recently?" The man's low and calm voice was very pleasant to the ears. However, Qin Yu was inexplicably vigilant. He laughed. "I'll be back in a few days." "Brother, what happened?" "Nothing. I prepared some gifts for everyone." The handsome man in the suite hid the coldness in the depths of his dark eyes. It was only when he thought of something that a hint of gentleness appeared. "By the way, how's Gu?" Hearing Qin Luyan ask about Bei Yunj the moment he came up, Qin Yu was alarmed. In the past, when eldest brother went abroad, he had never cared about Gu. Even Qin Yujiao was the same. "She's pretty good." Qin Yu thought for a moment and repeated what had happened at home. When Qin Luyan heard that Qin Yujiao had been sent to stay with Mr. and Mrs. Qin by Qin Lang, his emotions did not fluctuate much. However, when he heard Qin Yu say that Bei Yunj had also gone out to stay, his eyes immediately darkened. "She went out to stay? Where did a little girl like her go to live?" Hearing his brother's voice darken, Qin Yu didn't dare to tell him that Guo was staying at his friend's house. "Don't worry, it's someone I know. Some time ago, old master also saw him. There's no problem." Qin Yu leaned against the chair and chuckled. When Qin Luyan heard that, he remained silent for a while before saying unhurriedly, "Then it's not appropriate for our Qin family's young lady to live outside. I'll deal with this matter when I get back. Just focus on filming." After that, Qin Luyan hung up the phone. However, Qin Yu inexplicably felt that something was wrong. "Big brother, this ice block, when would he start to care for Gur more? Didn't he not even ask about his parents?" Qin Yu did not know what Qin Luyan meant by calling either. However, he knew that there would indeed be trouble with Qin Luyan's return. Qin Yujiao knew that he and Qin Lang would ignore her and would definitely think of ways to make eldest brother stand on her side. If that was the case, it would be troublesome. Chapter 250. Then wouldn't Qin Yujiao have found a backer? Qin Yu pursed his lips, feeling that this matter might become troublesome. At the same time, Mrs. Qin also held Qin Yujiao's hand happily. "Jiao Jiao, your older brother is coming back. You've suffered during this period of time. When eldest brother comes back, he will definitely help you." "Eldest brother is coming back?" Qin Yujiao's eyes lit up and she looked up at Mrs. Qin. She had finally waited for eldest brother to return. One had to know that the true person in charge of the Qin family was still eldest brother. Second brother and third brother had no interest in business. For so many years, eldest brother had been the one managing the Qin group alone. "Yes, if you have any grievances, tell eldest brother." Mrs. Qin could not help but laugh. "Your eldest brother looks cold to everyone. But Jiao Jiao, you know very well that eldest brother will grant your every request." A strange glint flashed past Qin Yujiao's eyes and she tugged at Mrs. Qin and said coquettishly, "So, I like eldest brother the most." After what she did to Bei Yunj this time, Mr. Qin had already started to suspect her. Fortunately, when Mr. Qin saw her run out crying, he had already dispelled his suspicions and even felt guilty. In the evening, the moment Bei Yunj returned, she saw the man sitting on the sofa. "Brother." Bei Yunj called out and was about to go upstairs to take a shower. "Who knew?" The man put out the cigarette casually and suddenly looked up, saying slowly, "Yun Yun, older brother has something to discuss with you." However, Bei Yunj looked at the handsome and dignified man in front of her and remembered how this man had looked when he was bursting with desire last time. "What's wrong?" Bei Yunj still walked towards him, deliberately not looking into his eyes. "Why were you angry last time?" Huashidu's gaze landed on Bei Yunj unwaveringly. His tone was casual as he dragged out his words. "Did older brother bully you?" These words were clearly very normal. However, when he said this, it inexplicably became ambiguous and made her face turn red. Bei Yunj thought of what this man had said to her in the closet and smiled. "Just, older brother, you're very good at bullying people." At this moment, Huashidu didn't think about anything else. After all, he had drunk too much in the past and did not have the habit of touching girls. "Then let me apologize to you." Yunin, don't take it to heart, okay? Hoshidu's thin red lips curled up and he bent down to look at her at eye level. His tone was natural and intimate as he coaxed her. This man had always been very good to her and even took special care of her feelings. But for some reason, Bei Yunj was not very happy when she saw that this man could not remember anything at all. Were you drunk last time? What happened? Bei Yunj asked. That night when she was drying Hoshidu's hair, she felt that his body was cold. Those who didn't know better would think that he had taken a cold shower. The corners of Hoshidu's lips curled up slightly. His posture was lazy and frivolous. He reached out carelessly and gently rubbed her cheek. Yes, Big Brother accidentally drank a little. Are you in a bad mood? Bei Yunj glanced at him and an indescribable feeling rose in her heart. In her heart, this man was what others called a flower on top of a mountain. He would get whatever he wanted. How could he not be happy? That's not the reason, but I'm indeed not too happy. Hoshidu's low and magnetic laughter flowed out as his throat moved. The next moment, he scratched the girl's chin again. But next time, older brother will come back earlier. Chapter 251. The man's pale-colored and abstinent eyes turned gentle. His seductive low voice could easily tickle one's eardrums. Brother will be happy when he looks at Yunyun. Wasn't this man apologizing just now? Hoshidu's eyes darkened when he saw the little girl's bright black eyes staring at him with an inexplicable emotion. Then he let out a long laugh. His deep and magnetic voice seemed to be deliberately seductive. Yunyun, don't look at me like that. Brother can't handle it. Bei Yunj, the next time this man drank, she would definitely record it. She would let him see clearly who was the one who couldn't handle it. Seeing that Bei Yunj's expression was awkward again, Hoshidu said, Then I'll promise Yunyun one thing. How about that? I don't want to go to school anymore. Bei Yunj said this almost without thinking. Who would have thought? Hoshidu looked at her for a while and only laughed. His posture was seductive and ostentatious. Sure, then Yunyun will come over early and manage the company for brother. Bei Yunj, ? Was this what a qualified domineering CEO would say? Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes twitched. What about you? Brother, just serve our Yunyun. The man casually played with the silver lighter on his phone. His low and magnetic laughter was light and lazy. His gaze was straight and lustful. It made one's heart beat wildly. Bei Yunj, he was no longer treating her as a younger sister. It was more like he was raising her as a daughter. Be obedient. Come down and do your homework later. Brother will teach you, he said. Bei Yunj was about to scold him in her heart when she suddenly felt the man's half-smiling gaze. Brother, weren't you apologizing to me just now? Bei Yunj asked. Why did it become him supervising her homework in the end? Yes, I forgot to ask Yunyun, how did I bully you? Hoshidu remembered that when he drank too much in the past, he would at most go to bed early. For a moment, Bei Yunj was a little silent. When Hoshidu saw this, he suddenly sensed the little girl's abnormality. Hoshidu's throat bobbed. Yunyun, brother took away my pen the moment he saw me. Bei Yunj glanced at him. Because of this? The man licked his thin red lips. His low and hoarse laughter was sexy and pleasing to the ear. He was a little surprised that he would do something like this in his unconscious state. He was also surprised that Bei Yunj had argued with him for so long because of this. Looking at the man's calm expression, Bei Yunj suddenly laughed. Her clear eyes looked harmless. I asked my brother if he could lift up his shirt and show it to me. My brother said that he would only show it to me when we entered the room. Hoshidu felt that these words did not sound like something he would say, but the young lady had indeed been awkward for 2 days. The man looked at Bei Yunj and thought, Brother, don't tell me you've forgotten everything you've done. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and said with a smile. Suddenly, Hoshidu laughed again. His dark and unreadable gaze landed on her. Then does Yunyun still want to see it? Bei Yunj's smile froze. ? It's okay. Although Yunyun's preferences are special, it's quite embarrassing. Hoshidu casually threw the silver lighter on the sofa, not caring much. Brother? Bei Yunj suddenly had a bad feeling. Before Bei Yunj could speak, the man had already taken off his tie. His lazy and playful voice was frivolous and straightforward. Chapter 252. There's no need to explain. I'll try my best to satisfy Yunyun. She had never seen the man's figure, but the last time in the wardrobe, it felt firm and hard. However, when the man was wearing a shirt, it did not show and only made people feel that he was refined and dignified. Brother! Bei Yunj grabbed the man's cold hand and looked up. Should I do my homework? I think so. The man's pale-colored eyes could not hide the smile in them. I'll go take a shower first and go downstairs to do my homework. With that said, Bei Yunj immediately went upstairs. Seeing this, the man chuckled. His upturned eyes were charming and his posture was light and lazy. The little girl was so easily angered. How could she let him lift his shirt? Ever since she knew that Qin Luyan was coming back, Qin Youjiao seemed to have become bolder. In the live stream, when Qin Youjiao was chatting with a small celebrity she had just met, she inadvertently led the small celebrity to talk about Bei Yunj. It caused a lot of discussion. However, at the same time, the entire internet was very interested in Bei Yunj, who had never appeared before. After being talked about for so long, she was either scared or too lazy to care. No one thought that Bei Yunj would be the former. However, everyone felt that if Bei Yunj appeared in the public eye, the scene would definitely be exciting and fresh. Before the crowd could calm down, they saw someone coming down personally to tear Qin Youjiao apart. You man ran, your father Pei is a brick. He will move wherever he is needed. Heartbroken, with this post, many netizens discussed fervently. Ha ha ha. Sister man, what's wrong with you? Do you know Bei Yunj? Sister man, are you still the big boss of the industry I know? Work harder, you're number one. Doghead? No wonder artistes can never be seen in public. They like to suck up to rich people? Let me take a look. Which sour chicken is this again? Can't you stand properly on the streets? You're being blind again. Everyone in the industry understood this kind of hype. Qin Yu naturally knew that once he replied, he would be trying to gain popularity for Qin Youjiao. If he didn't reply, she would think that he had acquiesced to Qin Youjiao's relationship. Therefore, at the end of the month, Qin Yu had sent lawyers' letters to nearly 30 netizens, including the small celebrity who had Bei Yunj in the live stream. This move shocked everyone. After all, when Qin Yu had just entered the industry, there had been a huge commotion, but she had never seen him send a lawyer's letter in a stack, as expected of Qin Yu, the crazy sister control maniac. Seeing these dozens of lawyers' letters and Yu Man ran publicly attacking her, Qin Youjiao was so angry that her face turned green. However, what surprised Qin Youjiao even more was that she received a call from her manager. Jiao, there's a problem with our company. We're having a hard time with cash flow, and we're being held back by someone. We might not be able to last for more than 2 months. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao's face paled. What? Qin Youjiao clenched her fists tightly. If this news got out, she would definitely be the first to be laughed at. When she signed with her second brother's studio back then, she had been eliminated in the first round. Now that she had finally signed with a good company, such a thing actually happened. Why did this happen? Qin Youjiao took a deep breath. Her manager was also very busy. I think I offended someone. Jiao, do you know the whole corporation? In an instant, Qin Youjiao's face paled. Her mind was in a mess and she couldn't hear what her manager was saying at all. Jiao, are you listening to me? Chapter 253. Others did not know why the company had offended the whole corporation. But Qin Youjiao knew it clearly. It was all because of that man. Qin Youjiao's eyes widened as she gritted her teeth, feeling extremely indignant. How could this be? That man was already willing to do this for Bei Yunj. Time passed and it was Friday for the parent-teacher conference. Most of the students in Class 1 and Class 2 were refreshed. On the other hand, the usually arrogant and domineering Class 7 was strangely quiet. Deskmate, who's attending your parent-teacher conference this time? Lu Yuanxi and Bei Yunj went outside to get some water. My brother. Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes. She had only mentioned this to Huashidu casually once and did not know if he remembered. Back then, she had only wanted to suppress her grades and had forgotten that she might be scolded at the parent-teacher conference. I see. Lu Yuanxi did not ask further. The moment he thought of Qin Yu's guard against him, his scalp turned numb. The older brothers of the Qin family were each more impressive than the other. At this moment, Mr. and Mrs. Qin had arrived a long time ago and many parents of students came forward to greet them. After all, this was the Qin family in Yuncheng. I'm going to attend the parent-teacher conference for Ge. You can attend it for Jiao Jiao. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin's expression changed immediately. Did you agree to attend the parent-teacher conference today to attend it for her? Mr. Qin, whose thoughts had been exposed, looked embarrassed. But Qin Yu has work and I don't know when Qin Lang will come. Then what did you promise Jiao Jiao? Mrs. Qin refused to let it go. Have you forgotten how Jiao Jiao cried in front of you last time? What will Jiao Jiao think if you attend her parent-teacher conference this time? With that said, Mr. Qin's expression did not look too good. Right now, Bei Yunj, who was wandering around the school, was still thinking about whether she should get Si Qingyan to help. So, coincidentally, Bei Yunj happened to be walking towards Mr. and Mrs. Qin. Mr. Qin was stunned for a moment. Bei Yunj glanced at them and prepared to leave as if she did not see them. Gah! Mr. Qin subconsciously shouted. Mrs. Qin, who was beside him, pulled him back and could not help but ask, Are you crazy? Qin, I didn't know when it started, but every time Qin Ji Ai's father was alone, his mind would wander off and he would mention Bei Yunj. What's the matter? Bei Yunj glanced sideways at him. Did anyone attend the parent-teacher conference for you? Thank you, Mr. Qin. Someone will come. Bei Yunj smiled. Her bright eyes were lazy and beautiful. There was no deliberate estrangement, nor was there any friendliness. It was as if they were strangers who could greet each other when they met. This feeling was like a blunt knife cutting into Father Qin's heart. It was a bloody pain. Oh, I see, Mr. Qin stiffened and nodded. All right. If her needs anything, you can look for me. Thank you, Mr. Qin. Bei Yunj smirked and her eyes happened to glance at Qin Yojiao, who was walking over, before she turned around and left. After Bei Yunj left, Qin Yojiao went forward and held Mrs. Qin and Mr. Qin's arms. Dad, Mom, what are you doing? Qin Yojiao pretended not to see Bei Yunj and was in high spirits. It's nothing. I met someone I know just now and chatted for a while. Mrs. Qin smiled and accompanied Qin Yojiao to class. Many people saw the scene of this family of three and couldn't help but discuss it. Mrs. Qin and Mr. Qin only attend the parent-teacher conference for Qin Yojiao? Chapter 254. Someone could not help asking, then Bei Yunj's parent-teacher conference will also be held by Brother Qin? Right? After all, the one he brought back from outside can't compare to the one he has always doted on. Besides, any normal person would want to hold Qin Yojiao's and Bei Yunj's parent-teacher conference. The difference in results was too big. One was second in the cohort and the other was 28th from the bottom. Compared to him, it was really embarrassing. Besides, Bei Yunj was personally raised by Director Lin, but her results were only SOSO. Now that you mention it, I still feel that Bei Yunj's status is not legitimate. How prestigious can it be for her brother to hold it? The girl who was discussing shook her head. So what if she's not legitimate? Didn't we work so hard to get into Yunqing University? Once something happened to Master Pei, the teachers of Yunqing University almost became her support group. Another person who was chewing on an apple sighed. Forget it, let's not worry about it. Hearing this, the girl immediately retorted, Isn't it because of Director Lin? But it's impossible for Bei Yunj to get into Yun University because of Director Lin. In the office, Bei Yunj had just passed by when she saw a familiar figure. It was her first time seeing Qin Lang appear so formally in a suit and leather shoes. Besides, he appeared beside her form teacher. Bei Yunj sized up Qin Lang and saw that he was a little nervous but was pretending to be calm. A third brother is here for your parent-teacher conference. Don't worry, third brother won't embarrass you. Where did this news leak out? Bei Yunj happened to see the form teacher, who was a little guilty, from the corner of her eye and raised an eyebrow. Come. Student Pei, bring your third brother to the classroom. Bei Yunj never thought that she would have a parent-teacher conference group and two indecent brothers who would count down to the parent-teacher conference in the group every day. Bei Yunj's lips moved. Actually, I've already. Someone came to the parent-teacher conference. Suddenly, Qin Lang heard a commotion and had a bad feeling. Then, he turned his head and saw someone who shouldn't be there. Qin Yu, why are you here? Bei Yunj froze. Even though the class teacher had seen the world, this was the first time she had seen parents of students with poor grades rushing to attend a parent-teacher conference. Moreover, they were parents who had a full schedule. I took a few days off and dyed my hair back while I was at it. Ger's parent-teacher conference, and having blue hair is not good for her image. Qin Yu smiled slightly and glanced at Qin Lang's iconic silver hair. The homeroom teacher closed his eyes in exhaustion. It's starting again. They're starting to talk to each other again. Every day after work, during his free time, he could almost always see the content of these two in Bei Yunj's parents' group chat. They didn't look like brothers at all. They looked more like enemies who were vying for favor and love. Qin Yu, what do you mean? Is there anyone with silver hair more handsome than me? Qin Lang was enraged. The two of them looked like they were about to start a fight in public. Seeing this, Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. You, suddenly. Qin Yojiao's cheerful voice sounded from the end of the long corridor in the distance. Brother, why are you here? In an instant, Qin Lang and Qin Yu stopped fighting and both of them looked at the noble man who was wearing an exquisite black suit and whose eyes were as dark as ink. Chapter 255. Qin Lian buttoned his sleeves slowly and ignored Qin Yojiao. This made Qin Yojiao's expression freeze. Brother, my class is here. Qin Yojiao said coquettishly, didn't you say that you brought us gifts? Hearing this, Qin Lian's eyes landed on her and he suddenly snorted. His low and magnetic voice was inexplicably cold. I brought you a gift. You'll know when you get back. With that said, Qin Lian glanced sideways and did not look at Qin Yojiao again. Brother, thank you. Before Qin Yojiao could show a bright smile, she saw Qin Lian walking towards Class 7. This scene. Not only Qin Yojiao, even the others could not help but stare fixedly at him. It had to be said that the three older brothers of the Qin family were all very handsome, but eldest brother's aura was outstanding and gave people an unreachable feeling. Only one word appeared in everyone's minds. Unapproachable. I'm sorry, Teacher Wen. I'm late. Ger's parent-teacher conference hasn't started yet, right? Qin Luyan said slowly. With that said, the form teacher froze. Qin Yu and Qin Lang turned their heads instinctively and looked at Qin Luyan in disbelief. What was going on with eldest brother? Didn't he hate such meetings the most? Did someone call him for Ger's parent-teacher conference? Brother, I came to the parent-teacher conference first. Qin Lang said unhappily. Before Qin Yu could finish speaking, he and Qin Lang felt a threat in Qin Luyan's lazy gaze. Qin Yu and Qin Lang were speechless. Was there a need? Were they biological brothers? Why did he have to fight with them for a parent-teacher conference? At this moment, the atmosphere was awkward. In the next second, Bei Yunja's phone vibrated. She opened her phone and saw that it was a message from Huashidu. I'm almost there. Bei Yunja's pretty eyes moved. How could this situation continue to develop? Deskmate, you're good? Qin Yojiao called 2 over and you're missing 1. Lu Yunci teased softly beside her. Bei Yunj smiled at him. There are 4. Lu Yunci was speechless. It was his first time seeing such a big commotion at the parent-teacher conference. It was not only Class 7, even the students from the class next door were discussing it. F***CK. I thought that Qin Yojiao asked her parents to attend the parent-teacher conference was to show off that she was a legitimate daughter. Now that I look at it, I feel like Pei Yunj has a heavenly group standing beside her. Someone could not help but mock her. I'm going to die of laughter for Qin Yojiao too. She's so flirtatious online, yet she's still pretending to be innocent. Now, no matter how bad Pei Yunj's results are, there are people fighting to attend her parent-teacher conference. Logically speaking, Pei Yunj has only been back for 2 to 3 years. Why do the Qin brothers like her so much? Is hers? Hearing these discussions, Qin Yojiao's face paled and her eyes were filled with hatred as she looked at Pei Yunj. Her fingers were clenched so tightly that they turned white. Pei Yunj, Pei Yunj. Everywhere, Pei Yunj was slapping her in the face. A dark look flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes. At last, the form teacher went to another class and asked for a few chairs, so that these 3 big shots could sit down. In Class 7's classroom, a group of girls was outside the window. When they saw Qin Luyan and the rest sitting in a row, they almost screamed. These were male idols. All of them were popular male idols. Chapter 256. Even the parents looked at Qin Luyan from time to time. Qin Luyan and the other 2 were used to it and felt like they were basking in the spring breeze. However, Pei Yunj, who was sitting at the side, felt a little complicated. Especially at this moment, Lu Yuanxi was even giving her an encouraging look. Pei Yunj was speechless. Who would be willing to bring a group of people to watch when they failed all the tests? However, other than Pei Yunj, the 3 brothers of the Qin family were in a good mood at this parent-teacher conference. Her foreign language score is very high, 87 marks. Qin Lang started to boast. In time, Arge can even be a translator. With that said, the parent, who had reprimanded her child because she only scored 100 marks for her foreign language, almost spat out a mouthful of water. With this standard, she could be a translator. Are you dreaming? Then, Qin Yu did not want to be outdone. He picked up Pei Yunj's Chinese paper. Guer's Chinese results are quite good too. Her ancient poems are all correct. All right, second brother wants to release a national song next time. How about Guer write the lyrics for second brother? The parents beside him could not stand it anymore. Wasn't he King pampering her too much? He could boast about 70 to 80 marks. At this moment, only a few students whose results were about the same as Pei Yunj's looked at her in admiration and even gave her a thumbs up. As expected of Pei Yunj, the brothers at home were each more amazing than the other. Pei Yunj's bright and arrogant eyes darkened visibly as she resisted the urge to walk out. This scene made Lu Yuanxi lie on the table, but he could not help but cover his abdomen with one hand as he suppressed his laughter. Not long after, the short class meeting was finally over, and the parents all walked towards the conference hall. Don't worry. Even if our girl scores 0, it's not a big deal, Qin Yu said. Pei Yunj glanced at the time and felt that Huoshidu might be coming. Actually, Pei Yunj looked up at Qin Yu. I've already asked Brother Shidu to help me with the parent-teacher conference. He's here too? Qin Yu was stunned. Pei Yunj, yes. Qin Yu thought for a while. It's fine. Then the 5 of us will sit in a row. Pei Yunj, forget it, Hengda's conference hall was indeed very big. A few minutes later, sure enough, when Pei Yunj and the others entered the venue, a tall figure appeared. Qin Yu's eyes were sharp and he saw Huoshidu immediately. Master Du here. Hearing this, Huoshidu looked towards Qin Yu. However, he did not expect that other than him, there would be someone else holding a parent-teacher conference for Pei Yunj. Moreover, there was more than one. However, Huoshidu didn't think too much about it and walked towards Pei Yunj. At the same time, many people's gazes fell on Huoshidu. She originally thought that the 3 brothers of the Qin family were already eye-catching enough, but she didn't expect another godlike man to appear. The handsome man was also dressed in formal wear, but his eyebrows were clear and noble. He had wide shoulders and a narrow waist, and his legs were slender and excessively ascetic. His casual and lazy appearance was still impossible to ignore. I'm gone. What kind of exquisite man is this? Is this also Pei Yunj's brother? Sob, 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 how can he be a man who looks exactly like me? I like mature men too much. Compared to the stinky younger brothers in school, who doesn't like a gentle and hormonal older brother? You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.